England, a land of kings and queens, castles and cathedrals. But beneath the glamour of crowns and the glory of empire lies something far darker. A history drenched in blood, superstition, betrayal, and death. What if I told you that behind England's proud image are centuries of horror stories that still echo in the shadows of its old streets? Tonight, we open the pages of England's darkest past, and what you'll discover may haunt you forever. England is often remembered for its golden ages. Shakespeare's brilliance, the Industrial Revolution, and the rise of an empire on which the sun never set. But history is never that clean. Hidden beneath the polished tales are the untold horror plagues that wiped out half the population. Monarchs who burned their own people alive, witch hunts that sent innocent women to the gallows, and serial killers who walked the gaslit streets of London. This is not the England of postcards and tea parties. This is the England of screams echoing through the Tower of London, of death carts rumbling through plague-ridden alleys, and of shadows lurking in Whitechapel. In the mid-14th century, England was brought to its knees by the deadliest pandemic in human history, the Black Death. The year was 1348. Ships arrived in Dorset, carrying a silent killer. Within weeks, towns fell into chaos as the disease spread like wildfire. Victims suffered swollen black buboes, fever, and unbearable pain before dying within days. Entire villages vanished overnight. By the time the plague had burned through England, it had killed almost half the population. Corpses filled the streets, mass graves were dug, and priests refused to perform last rites out of fear. This wasn't just a health crisis, it changed England forever. Labor shortages gave surviving peasants more power, shaking the feudal system. And yet, the trauma lingered. Many believed the plague was God's punishment, while others whispered of dark sorcery. Even today, some English villages bear the scars, deserted ghost towns where no one ever returned. If the plague brought terror to the body, England's monarchs brought terror to the soul. From the 15th to 17th centuries, the Tower of London became infamous not just as a royal fortress, but as a place of unimaginable suffering. Prisoners accused of treason were locked away, tortured for confessions, and executed in public spectacles. The methods were brutal. The rack stretched victims until their joints ripped apart. The scavenger's daughter crushed the body into excruciating positions. Public beheadings became entertainment for the masses. One of the bloodiest monarchs was Mary I of England, better known as Bloody Mary. A devout Catholic, she ordered the burning of nearly 300 Protestants in just 5 years. Ordinary men and women, accused of heresy, were tied to stakes and set ablaze while crowds watched. Her reign left a scar so deep that her name is still whispered in schoolyard legends today. And if you think plague and fire were the worst horrors England had to endure, think again. Because next came something even darker. A time when neighbors turned on neighbors, and superstition sent hundreds to their deaths. The witch hunts were about to begin. In the 16th and 17th centuries, paranoia swept through England. Misfortune, whether a failed crop, a sick child, or even spoiled milk, was often blamed on witches. The most infamous trials were the Pendle witch trials of 1612. 12 people, mostly women, were accused of practicing dark magic. Their supposed crimes: cursing neighbors, summoning spirits, and making pacts with the devil, of course. Most of these accusations were nothing more than rumors, fueled by fear, poverty, and religious zealotry. Yet the outcome was horrifying. 10 were found guilty and hanged. Across England, hundreds of women suffered similar fates. Some were drowned, during which swimming tests if they floated, they were guilty. If they sank and drowned, they were innocent, but dead. The witch trials weren't just about superstition. They revealed the deep social fractures of England, where the powerless became scapegoats for society's problems. By the Victorian era, England had transformed into an industrial powerhouse. But beneath the factories and wealth, London's East End festered in poverty, crime, and despair. The 1800s saw child labor, debtors, prisons, and brutal punishments. Children, as young as 6, worked 12-hour shifts in coal mines. Thieves were transported to Australia or publicly whipped. For many, Life was a prison without walls. And then came Jack the Ripper. In 1888, the foggy streets of Whitechapel became hunting grounds for the world's most infamous serial killer. Jack brutally murdered at least 5 women, leaving their bodies mutilated in ways too gruesome to describe. Despite massive police investigations and media hysteria, he was never caught. The murders exposed not just the horror of one killer, but the grim reality of Victorian England. The poverty, misogyny, and neglect that left women vulnerable. Jack the Ripper remains a symbol of England's darkest underbelly, a reminder that evil often hides in plain sight. England's throne has always been a dangerous seat. Wars for power stained the land with betrayal and bloodshed. During the Wars of the Roses in the 15th century, rival factions of the same royal family tore the kingdom apart. Brothers turned against brothers, fathers against sons. The streets of Totan ran red in 1461 during England's bloodiest battle, where over 20,000 men died in a single day. But perhaps the darkest betrayal came in 1649, when England did the unthinkable. It executed its own king. Charles I was dragged before Parliament, tried for treason, and sentenced to death. On a cold January morning, he stepped onto the scaffold outside Whitehall. With one stroke of the axe, a king's head fell, and England entered a republic ruled by Oliver Cromwell. The shockwaves of regicide haunted the nation, proving that not even divine right could protect a monarch from the axe. So what do we make of this? From plague and fire, to witches and kings, to killers lurking in the dark, England's past is soaked in blood and shadow. But before you leave tonight, ask yourself, have these horrors truly been left in the past, or are their echoes still with us, hiding just out of sight? England today is a land of modern cities, cultural pride, and historic beauty. Tourists flock to the Tower of London, stroll the cobblestones of York, or take ghost tours through ancient pubs. But behind the polished image lies a truth that can't be erased. England was built on centuries of fear, violence, and death. The Black Death reshaped society. Torture chambers enforced royal power. Witch hunts revealed the cruelty of superstition. Jack the Ripper showed the darkness of the human soul. And wars proved that power was never secure. The dark history of England, isn't just a series of events, a mirror of human nature itself. Fear, greed, and cruelty are not confined to the past. They are timeless. So, the next time you walk through England's old streets, look a little closer. You may just feel the shadows of history watching you.